The wind came before the rain, low, restless, and strange, like something alive. By the time the first thunder rolled across the valley, Willow Creek had already gone dark. Only one light remained on, a small lamp in the window of Emma Lane's cafe, the little roadside place that had somehow survived both loneliness and time. Inside, Emma moved quietly between tables, stacking chairs and wiping counters while the storm pressed its fingers against the glass. She had learned long ago that nights like this could break things: trees, windows, hearts. She paused, listening to the wind, and wondered which of those would break tonight. A sudden flash split the sky, then the unmistakable sound, metal striking asphalt, then silence. She froze. Out here, miles from the next house, any sound after midnight meant something. She pulled on her raincoat, grabbed the flashlight from under the counter, and stepped outside. The rain was furious. It slanted sideways, thick enough to taste. The road shimmered beneath her beam, silver and trembling. And then, there, at the bend near the old oak, she saw it. A car, half buried in mud, one door hanging open. Steam rose from the hood. "Hello?" Her voice was swallowed by the storm. No answer. She hurried forward, boots sinking into the soaked earth. Her light caught a shape near the ditch, a man, crumpled, unmoving. His shirt was torn, his hand bloodied. For a heartbeat, she thought he was dead. Then he coughed. Oh, thank God. She knelt beside him, brushing wet hair from his forehead. "Hey, can you hear me?" He tried to speak, but only a rough whisper came out. His eyes flickered open, unfocused and storm gray. "You're okay," she said, though she didn't know if it was true. "You're safe now. I'll get you out of here." It took everything she had to pull him up and half carry him back toward the cafe. Lightning stitched the sky, thunder chased them the whole way. She laid him on the couch inside, breathless, drenched, shaking. He was young, 30, maybe. Hands that looked used to work, but not this kind of hurt. There was a cut near his temple, a deeper gash along his shoulder. She wrapped him in blankets and pressed a towel to the wound, praying he wouldn't fade before morning. When the wind finally began to die, he was asleep. Or unconscious. She sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, and realized she didn't even know his name. Outside, the storm drifted away, leaving the town washed and silent. Inside, a stranger breathed in her home. Blank, morning came gray and cold. The cafe smelled of coffee and rain. Emma made herself busy, boiling water, checking the generator, pretending not to look at the man on her couch. When he stirred, she stopped. Pretend. Ding. He blinked up at the ceiling, confused. "Where am I?" "You're in my cafe. In Willow Creek." She offered a small, cautious smile. "You were in an accident." He tried to sit up. Pain stopped him halfway. "Accident? Your car's out there. You hit the turn too fast, maybe." He frowned, searching his memory. "I don't remember. Anything. Nothing?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Not even my name." She studied him for a moment, the way his eyes avoided hers. "Then we'll start small," she said. "You can stay here until you remember." He looked at her, surprised. "You'd trust a stranger?" Emma poured 2 mugs of coffee, set one beside him. "Everyone's a stranger at first. Blank. Days passed. The storm cleared, but the roads stayed empty, washed with silence. The man recovered slowly, and with recovery came fragments. Images without order. A bridge, headlights, someone shouting his name. The name stuck, Alex. That was all he had. He told her one evening, while helping sweep the porch. "I think my name is Alex," he said. "Think? It feels right, like something that belonged to me." Emma smiled faintly. "Then Alex it is." She noticed things about him. The way he fixed broken hinges without being asked. How he always looked toward the hills as if expecting someone to appear. At night he'd sit outside long after closing, listening to the creek, lost somewhere far beyond the quiet town. And though she tried not to care, she did. The gossip started by the end of the week. In small towns, silence itself is suspicious. People asked who the man was, why he stayed. Emma answered the same every time: "He's just resting, that's all." But when she lay in bed, she wondered if rest was really what he'd found, or refuge. One night she woke to a sound, a cry, low and broken. She hurried downstairs. Alex was thrashing on the couch, trapped in a dream. "Run," he murmured. "Emma, run." She shook him gently until he woke, gasping. "It's just a dream," she said. But his eyes, they looked like he'd seen ghosts. "I keep hearing it," he whispered. A crash. A voice calling me back. "I don't know who." "You will," she promised. "Memories come back when they're ready." He nodded, though his hands still trembled. "And if they're not worth remembering?" She met his gaze. "Then you build new ones." Blank, underscore, blank. The following morning, the sunlight finally returned to Willow Creek. The air smelled of pine and fresh soil. Emma opened the cafe early, humming quietly. When she turned, Alex was already there, clean-shaven, standing straighter, his eyes steadier than before. "I want to help," he said. "With the cafe? With whatever you'll let me do." So he did. He wiped tables, aired shelves, and smiled when customers came in, though some whispered behind their cups. And little by little, life slipped into a rhythm neither of them had expected. Some evenings, they'd close early and sit by the river. Emma would sketch the water. Alex would skip stones and watch them sink. Sometimes silence was enough. Sometimes she caught him looking at her like she was the only thing that made sense. Blank, underscore, blank, but even peace carries its own kind of warning. Late one afternoon, as dusk painted the town gold, Emma noticed a dark SUV crawl past the cafe. Its windows were tinted, its presence deliberate. Alex saw it too. For an instant, his face went pale. "Do you know them?" she asked. He shook his head quickly, but the fear in his eyes said otherwise. That night, he didn't sleep. He stood at the window long after the lights were out, staring toward the road. The storm had left scars on more than the land. Blank, underscore, blank, morning came again, gentle and deceptive. Emma brewed coffee, unaware that the quiet between them was the kind that comes before another storm, the kind that changes everything once more. Outside, the wind began to rise. Inside, Alex whispered to himself, as if testing the sound of his own truth. "Alex," he murmured, "if that's really who I am." And in that uncertain dawn, Emma looked at him and felt something shift, something fragile, unnamed, and dangerously close to love. The rain had gone, but its scent stayed, damp wood, wet soil, the faint sweetness of pine. Morning light spread through the cafe windows like a new beginning. Emma stood at the counter pouring coffee, watching the thin curls of steam rise and disappear. Alex was outside already, sweeping the porch. The wind teased his hair, and for a moment he looked completely at home, almost as if Willow Creek had always been his place. She didn't call to him. She liked the quiet rhythm of his movements, the scrape of the broom, the soft creak of the boards. It reminded her how life, somehow, had become different since that night. When he came back in, he smiled. "Your porch is officially the cleanest in the county." Emma handed him a mug. "That's a bold claim. Then I'll defend it. One sweep at a time." They laughed softly. It was the kind of laughter that made the room feel larger, brighter. Blank, underscore, blank. By noon the cafe filled with locals, Mrs. Henderson with her knitting bag, the town sheriff who never actually ordered coffee but stayed for gossip, a couple of teenagers scrolling on their phones. Everyone noticed Alex. Some smiled, others stared too long. Emma caught pieces of their whispers. The man she found in the storm. No family? No ID? Strange things happen out by the woods. She ignored them, but Alex noticed. His shoulders tensed. When the crowd thinned, he wiped down tables with mechanical precision. "They don't mean harm," Emma said gently. "They just talk." He nodded, still scrubbing. "I guess I give them something to talk about. Then give them something better, help, kindness, good coffee." He smiled at that, faint but real. "You make it sound simple." "It usually is," she said, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Blank, underscore, blank. That night, the air turned colder. The valley gathered mist like a secret. Emma closed the cafe early and walked to the riverbank. Alex followed, carrying a lantern. "I used to come here when things felt too heavy," she told him. "The river listens better than people do." He set the lantern down, watching the light ripple on the water. "I can't remember what used to calm me. Maybe nothing. Then start now," she said. They stood together in silence. Somewhere an owl called. The world seemed suspended between memory and possibility. Then, softly, Alex asked, "Do you ever wonder why I was on that road?" "Every day," she admitted. "But I figure you'll tell me when you're ready, or when you remember." He nodded. "Sometimes I dream about headlights. About a man shouting my name. I don't see his face." Emma turned to him. "Maybe it's someone looking for you. Or someone I was running from." The words lingered, heavy as the fog. Blank, underscore, blank. A few days later, something shifted. The first clue arrived quietly, in the form of a torn envelope. Emma was sorting through supplies when she noticed it wedged between the seat cushions of Alex's wrecked jacket. Water-stained, edges burnt, but one word was still legible: Ridge Corp. She frowned. A company name? A clue? She hesitated before showing him. "Does this mean anything to you?" she asked, handing him the fragment. He stared at it. For a second his expression froze, somewhere between recognition and fear. I don't know," he said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Emma watched him. "You remembered something, didn't you?" He looked away. "Just flashes. Buildings. A camera maybe. Someone saying don't go there. Then the crash." She wanted to press him, but something in his face stopped her, the exhaustion of a man fighting with shadows. "All right," she said softly. "No more for tonight." But when she went upstairs later, she saw light still glimmering under the cafe door. Alex hadn't slept. He sat alone, staring at the torn envelope as if it might tell him who he was. Morning crept in slow and silver, spilling across the cafe floorboards. The storm smell had faded, but something heavier hung in the air, and spoke in questions. Emma found Alex already awake, standing by the window with that bit of paper in his hand. The sun touched his profile, revealing dark circles under his eyes. "You didn't sleep," she said quietly. He shook his head. "Every time I closed my eyes, I saw lights, flashing red. Maybe police, maybe cameras. I think I was running from something, or toward it." She poured 2 mugs of coffee and joined him. "Then whatever it was, you survived it. Maybe that's what matters for now." He looked at her, searching her face as though he needed to believe it. "You saved me, Emma. If I hadn't ended up here, you would have found another stubborn woman with a cafe and too much heart," she interrupted gently. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Blank, underscore, blank. That afternoon, the town held its weekly market on Main Street. Emma insisted Alex come along. It might jog his memory, she said, or at least remind him that life existed beyond the cafe walls. Stalls lined the road, honey jars glinting like captured sunlight, fresh bread steaming beneath striped tents, children chasing balloons. Music drifted from an old radio. People stared again, but softer this time, curious rather than cruel. Mrs. Henderson even offered Alex a jar of her wild berry jam. For the young man who swept the gossip right off Emma's porch, she teased. For a while, the day almost felt normal. Alex carried bags, laughed at a joke he didn't fully understand, and even helped a child find her lost mitten. But as he turned, his laughter died. Across the street, a man stood beside a dark SUV, the same kind Emma had seen days before. Sunglasses, black coat, expressionless. He was pretending to study a phone, but his head tilted just slightly in Alex's direction. Alex's pulse stumbled. "Emma, we should go." "Why?" "Please, just trust me." They left the market without explanation. Blank, underscore, blank. Back at the cafe, Alex locked the door and drew the curtains. His hands trembled. "He was watching us." "Who?" "I don't know. But he knew me." Emma frowned. "Alex, maybe you're scaring yourself. There are tourists all the time." "No." His voice was sharp now. "He was at the crash. I think he followed me here." Silence spread between them like spilled ink. Finally she said, "Then we'll handle it together. You don't have to face ghosts alone." He looked at her, something raw flickering in his eyes, fear, gratitude, maybe love trying to surface through confusion. "I don't deserve this kindness. You don't have to. Just accept it." Blank, underscore, blank. Night returned heavy with wind. Emma tried to read upstairs, but rest wouldn't come. She kept picturing the man in the black coat, the reflection of headlights in Alex's frightened eyes. Downstairs, she found him again by the window. "You think I'm crazy," he said without turning. "Gee, I think you're scared." "Same thing, sometimes." She stepped beside him. Then let me be scared with you. For a long moment neither spoke. The clock ticked. The river murmured beyond the hills. Finally he whispered, I remember more now. A camera, a file with numbers, the word Ridge Corp. I think I was trying to expose something. Emma's breath caught. Expose? I might have been a reporter. Or something like it. He looked at her, almost pleading. If that's true, then people got hurt because of me. Her hand found his arm. Whatever you were, you're not that man anymore. Not here, not with me. Outside, thunder muttered far away, a reminder that storms always find their way back. The next morning broke clear, but the air held the hush that follows lightning. Emma opened the cafe as usual, pretending calm. Yet each time the doorbell jingled, her heart jumped. Alex moved like a man listening for echoes. He cleaned, he fixed a shelf, he smiled for customers, but behind his eyes lived a clock that never stopped ticking. At noon, while Emma served coffee to the sheriff, Alex slipped out to the back lot. The wreck of his car still waited under a tarp, twisted metal glinting like a scar. He crouched beside it and pried open the glove compartment. Mud, glass, a ruined notebook. Inside, a single photograph. A younger Alex shaking hands with another man outside a modern glass building. The logo behind them read Ridge Corporation. The name made his head ring. He saw flashes, files spread across a desk, a voice warning, you're getting too close, headlights, rain. Then the crash again. He stumbled back, gripping the photo. Emma found him moments later. Alex? He showed her the picture. That's me. I worked for them, I think. I was investigating something inside Ridge Corp. Something they didn't want found. Emma studied the faces. And the other man? I don't know, but I remember shouting at him. He said they'd silence me before the story ever reached daylight. Thunder rolled far off over the hills. Emma swallowed. Then the man at the market, he could be from them. Alex nodded slowly. And if he is, he'll come again. Blank, underscore, blank. That evening she locked the doors earlier than usual. They ate soup in silence, listening to the wind rise. The clock ticked toward midnight. Finally Emma said, maybe you should leave town for a while. There's a bus in the morning. He shook his head. If they followed me, they'll follow again. I won't lead trouble anywhere else. Then what will you do? He looked toward the dark windows. Remember everything. Finish what I started. And keep you safe. The last words were quiet but certain. Blank, underscore, blank, after midnight, headlights swept across the walls, brief, white, gone. Emma froze. Alex moved to the window. The same SUV sat at the edge of the gravel road, engine idling, lights dimmed. He exhaled slowly. They found me. Emma gripped his arm. Then we call the sheriff. He shook his head. If this really is Ridge Corp, it's bigger than a small town badge. The car eased forward, then turned and vanished into the trees. But both knew it would return. Blank, underscore, blank, at dawn, Alex packed a small bag. I'll go to Ridge City, he said. It's 2 hours east. Maybe someone there can tell me why they wanted me dead. Emma stared at him, anger and fear warring in her eyes. You nearly died once. You think I'll watch you walk back into it? I have to know, Emma. Otherwise they'll always own what's left of me. She stepped closer. Then I'm coming with you. He started to protest, but she cut him off. You're not the only one. The storm changed. For a moment they just looked at each other, words useless. Then he nodded. Blank, underscore, blank, they left Willow Creek at sunrise. Mist curled around the road like memory itself. Behind them, the cafe's sign swung gently in the wind. Neither spoke. The radio stayed silent, only the hum of tires and the heartbeat of the road. As the town disappeared behind the hills, Emma glanced at him. When this is over, she said softly, promise me we'll come back. He met her eyes. I promise. The promise felt like light after rain, fragile, but real. Ahead, the highway bent toward Ridge City, where the shadows waited. The road to Ridge City wound like a ribbon through the mountains, narrow and half hidden beneath drifting fog. The air smelled of rain again, the kind that always seemed to follow them now. Emma kept both hands tight on the wheel. Beside her, Alex stared out the window, eyes fixed on the gray horizon as though it might whisper back the memories still missing from his mind. The photo lay on the dashboard between them, the faded Ridge Corp logo catching bits of light whenever the clouds broke. Neither had spoken since they left Willow Creek. Sometimes silence was easier than fear. When the first green sign appeared, Ridge City 22 miles, Emma finally exhaled. Almost there. Alex nodded but didn't answer. His reflection in the glass looked older than his face, as though the fragments of his past had begun to age him from the inside out. Blank, underscore, blank, Ridge City rose from the valley like a wound of steel and glass. Tall buildings cut into the low clouds, their mirrored sides reflecting a sun that never seemed to warm anything. Emma slowed the car at the edge of downtown, eyes darting from sign to sign. "Where first?" she asked. Alex unfolded a crumpled page from the glove box, a street map he'd found inside the R. U and car. He pointed to a block marked Ridge Corp headquarters. "Here, if I really worked there, someone will remember me." They parked 2 streets away. The building towered above them, black glass, revolving doors, a nameplate of brushed steel. Inside, the lobby gleamed too bright, too polished. A security guard stood near the entrance, gaze sharp. Alex hesitated. If they tried to kill me once, walking straight in might not be smart. Emma's voice was firm. "Then we don't walk in. We listen first." Blank, underscore, blank, they found a small cafe across the street. From the window they could see Ridge Corp's doors reflected in the glass like an image from another life. Emma ordered 2 coffees and pretended to read while Alex watched the building. For nearly an hour nothing happened, just workers in suits coming and going, umbrellas opening and closing in the drizzle. Then a black SUV pulled up to the curb. The same model as the one in Willow Creek. 2 men stepped out, coats identical, movements practiced. They entered through the revolving doors without a glance around. Alex's hand tightened on the cup. "That's them." Emma looked. "You're sure?" "Yes." One of them was at the market. He rose halfway from the chair, impulse in every line of his body, but Emma caught his sleeve. "Not now. You walk in there, they'll make you vanish for good." He sank back down. "Then how'd I fight ghosts?" "By learning what they fear," she said quietly. "Every secret leaves a trail. We just have to find it." Blank, underscore, blank, hours later, when dusk painted the windows gold, they left the cafe and circled the block. Behind Ridge Corp stood a narrow alley and a service door marked employees only. A security camera blinked overhead. Alex studied it. "I remember this door. I used to sneak out for air when the night shifts dragged too long." His voice broke. "It feels like another life." Emma glanced around. "Then maybe that's where the rest of your memory's hiding." They waited until the camera turned. Then, in a rush between seconds, Alex slipped forward, pried the handle, and ducked inside. Emma followed. The corridor smelled of cleaning chemicals and electricity. Fluorescent lights hummed above them. Every step echoed. They passed rows of storage cabinets, offices dark behind glass, until Alex stopped before one door. "Archives, authorized personnel only." He whispered, "This was my office." The keypad beside the door glowed red. He hesitated, then typed 4 numbers without thinking. 0312. The light turned green. Emma blinked. "You remembered?" "Not remembered," he said softly. "My hands did." Inside, dust floated through pale light from the blinds. A single desk sat in the middle of the room, papers scattered, a computer half covered by a cloth. Alex ran his fingers over the keyboard, trembling. "This is where I was the night before the crash." He pressed the power button. The monitor flickered, then came alive. A login screen appeared. Username, A. Turner. Password, asterisk 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 asterisk. He typed again, faster this time. The computer accepted it. Emma leaned close. "What are we looking for?" "Proof," he murmured. "Something worth killing me over." Blank, underscore, blank. He opened folder after folder, reports, memos, images of machinery, factory blueprints. Then he found a hidden directory marked Ridge Project 7A, confidential. Inside, photos of chemical barrels near a riverbank, dates and coordinates, environmental test results showing levels far beyond legal limits. Beneath them, a headline draft, Ridge Corp dumps toxic waste into Willow Creek tributary. Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Willow Creek. They poisoned the water, Alex said, voice breaking. And I was about to publish it. Footsteps sounded in the hall. Alex froze. The sound grew louder, closer, the measured pace of boots. He killed the monitor, grabbed the flash drive from the USB port, and motioned for silence. A shadow passed under the door. A pause. Then the footsteps moved away. Emma exhaled. We can't stay. He pocketed the drive. We don't. We run. They slipped out the way they came, hearts pounding. Behind them, somewhere deep inside the building, an alarm began to beep. The alarm keened through the corridors, sharp as a knife drawn across glass. Red strobes began to pulse along the ceiling. Run, Emma whispered. They burst into the alley. The drizzle had thickened to rain, and the city lights fractured in every puddle. Somewhere behind them, doors slammed, radios crackled. Alex pulled her toward the car. If we make it to the bridge, we can lose them in the traffic. But when they turned the corner, a black SUV was already there, headlights cutting through the mist. Another vehicle skidded in from the far end of the street, sealing the block. Emma's mind flashed through every path she'd ever walked in this city. There's an old subway entrance behind the bookstore, 2 streets over. It's sealed, but not for people who know how to push. They sprinted. Tires screamed somewhere behind them. A man shouted orders. The air filled with the smell of oil and rain. They ducked through the narrow gap between 2 buildings, climbed a fence slick with rust, and stumbled into a courtyard overgrown with ivy. The entrance lay beneath a torn poster for a long-forgotten art show, just a rusted gate and a concrete stairway that vanished into dark. Alex shoved at the lock until it snapped. They slipped below the street, the noise of the chase fading into the thunder above. Blank, underscore, blank, T. The old subway tunnel smelled of damp earth and iron. Their flashlight beam danced across tiles stained with time. Rats scattered ahead of their steps. Emma's voice was low. You really think they'd kill you over that file? Alex's answer came like gravel. They already tried once. He reached for her hand as they walked. It wasn't a romantic gesture, it was survival, the need to know someone was still there when the lights went out. They followed the tracks until they reached a maintenance door. Beyond it lay a service tunnel that climbed toward the surface. When they finally emerged, they were in the industrial district, warehouses, cranes, the distant gleam of the river. Alex leaned against the wall, breathing hard. They'll trace the car. We can't go back. Emma nodded. Then we don't. We go forward. Blank, underscore, blank. They found refuge in a mechanic's garage that looked long abandoned. Emma pried open the side door. Inside, the smell of oil and old engines filled the air. A single bulb hung from a wire, barely glowing. She spread an old map across the hood of a dusty truck. If this drive really proves what they did, we have to get it to someone who'll listen. Journalists, police, anyone. Alex stared at the tiny device in his palm. They own the city press. The police take their paychecks. But there's one person who might help, a woman named Mara Kane. She used to work here, tried to expose them years ago. Where is she? Off-grid, up near the dam. I can find her. Emma met his eyes. Then we'll find her together. Blank, underscore, blank, outside, the rain finally broke into full storm. Lightning painted the skyline white for a heartbeat, revealing the whole gray sprawl of Ridge City beneath the clouds. Alex turned toward Emma. You could still walk away. None of this is yours. She smiled, a small, tired thing. You were lying half dead on my road, Alex. I think that makes this mine too. He didn't answer. Instead, he took her hand again, and in the flare of the lightning their silhouettes looked almost defiant against the storm. Blank, underscore, blank, far away, back inside Ridge Corp headquarters, a man in a dark suit studied the security feed. He froze the frame. Alex Turner, alive, leaving through the alley door with the woman. He picked up his phone. He's still breathing, he said into the receiver. Double the teams. I want that drive before dawn. The voice on the other end replied coldly, and the girl? A pause. Collateral. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving Ridge City veiled in mist. The air smelled of wet asphalt and electricity. Emma and Alex moved along the outskirts in a borrowed truck, its engine growling softly beneath the gray sky. The flash drive hung from a chain around Alex's neck now. Neither of them spoke much, the silence between them had changed. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was something heavier, something that made each glance linger longer than it should. The highway curved along the cliffs above the river. In the distance, the Ridge Dam rose like a wall of concrete and ghosts. The sun struck its surface and scattered into blinding white. Emma broke the silence. You said she lives up there. Mara Kane? Alex nodded. If anyone still has teeth left to bite Ridge Corp, it's her. He reached for the glove compartment and pulled out a folded newspaper clipping. It showed a younger woman, sharp eyes, wind-tangled hair. Beneath the headline, "Engineer blows whistle on safety breach, vanishes." Emma studied it. She vanished? They said she drowned. But I've seen her letters. She didn't drown. She disappeared herself. Blank, underscore, blank. They stopped at a diner along the highway, a quiet place called Rivers Bend. A few truckers sat inside, sipping coffee, watching the morning news. On the screen behind the counter, a local anchor spoke in calm tones. Authorities are investigating a break-in last night at Ridge Corporation's downtown headquarters. Officials report a fire alarm triggered during the incident. No suspects have been identified. Alex's jaw tightened. He turned away from the TV just as a waitress appeared with 2 steaming mugs. You folks headed north? She asked lightly. Yeah, Emma said. Up near the dam. The waitress frowned. Be careful up there. They're blasting rock today. Whole area's restricted. Alex met Emma's eyes. Blasting rock sounded a lot like covering tracks. Blank, underscore, blank. They left the diner before finishing their coffee. The closer they drove to the dam, the fewer cars they saw. The road narrowed, lined by pine trees whose branches dripped silver in the morning light. Somewhere beneath the sound of wind and water, Emma thought she could hear machinery, deep, mechanical thunder echoing through stone. They parked near a service road and continued on foot. The dam towered above them, a monument to human arrogance and corporate greed. The water below boiled white against the spillway. Alex paused at a chain-link fence. There's an old cabin on the ridge. She used to keep her research there. If she's alive, she'll be there. They climbed the fence and followed a narrow trail up the hill. The higher they went, the louder the dam's heartbeat became. Blank, underscore, blank. The cabin appeared out of the fog, wood darkened by age, windows boarded from inside. Emma knocked twice. No answer. Then a voice came from behind them. You're a little late to the funeral. They turned. A woman stood among the trees, a shotgun sting across her shoulder. Her hair was streaked with gray now, her eyes fierce and hollow. Mara Kane, Alex breathed. She looked him over. You're supposed to be dead. Apparently that's a hard rumor to kill. Mara lowered the gun slightly but didn't smile. Come inside. If they're following you, we don't have long. Blank, underscore, blank. Inside, the cabin smelled of paper and dust. Maps covered the walls, of rivers, tunnels, chemical pipelines. A radio hissed quietly in one corner. Mara poured black coffee into chipped mugs. You found the data? Alex pulled the flash drive from his neck and set it on the table. Everything. Test results, photos, reports. They're poisoning the water. She nodded grimly. And now they're erasing the evidence. They've been planning this since the first leak. The blasting today isn't construction, it's destruction. They're collapsing the lower tunnels that connect to the spill reservoir. When it's done, no one will ever prove a thing. Emma's voice was sharp. So we leak it first. Tonight. Mara's eyes softened just slightly. You think you can outpace a company that owns the internet towers, the press, the police? You'll need more than courage. Alex leaned forward. Then tell us what we need. Blank, underscore, blank. Mara hesitated, studying him, the way his hands trembled, the way Emma's gaze never left him. There's a repeater station near the North Ridge. I built it years ago, independent of their grid. If you upload from there, the files will go public before they can stop it. But it's deep inside the restricted zone. How deep? Emma asked. 2 miles through the spill tunnels. You'll need to move before nightfall. Once they start the second phase of blasting, the tunnels will flood. She rose, took a rolled-up blueprint from the shelf, and spread it across the table. Here, the path you'll take. But if you go down there, she looked directly at Alex. You'd better be sure who you trust. The words hung heavy. Blank, underscore, blank. They stayed only long enough to memorize the map. Before they left, Mara caught Emma's arm. Whatever you think he is, she said softly, remember this, he helped build the dam too. Some of the poison was his design. Emma froze. You're lying. Mara shook her head. I wish I were. Outside, the wind had picked up, carrying the faint rumble of distant explosions. Emma walked ahead, silent, her mind spinning. Alex called after her. "Emma, what did she say?" She didn't answer. Not yet. The trail to the dam's underbelly wound through fog and pine needles, every step echoing with the hollow sound of unseen water. Emma didn't look back for a long time. Mara's words had burrowed too deep, each one pulsing like a wound she couldn't ignore. When she finally spoke, her voice was sharp. "How long were you going to hide it, Alex?" He stopped. "Hide what? You worked for them. The toxins, the waste, you were part of it." Alex's eyes went cold, then desperate. "I didn't know what they were doing with my data. I designed filtration systems, not poison. When I found out, I tried to stop it. That's why they came after me." Emma kept walking. "That's convenient. It's the truth." She didn't turn around, but her steps faltered. The anger in her voice wasn't entirely for him, it was for herself, for believing too easily in a stranger she'd pulled from the wreckage. Behind them, thunder rolled again. But it wasn't the sky, it was the dam. The first controlled blasts had begun. Blank, blank, by the time they reached the service hatch leading into the tunnels, night had begun to creep over the ridge. Alex pried the metal cover open and climbed down the ladder first. The air below was cold, metallic, alive with the hum of machinery. Emma followed, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. The tunnel stretched ahead, a concrete artery, dripping and endless. Pipes lined the walls, each marked with hazard stripes and serial numbers half worn away. 2 miles, Mara said. Emma murmured. Alex nodded. Straight to the repeater. They walked in silence for a long while, boots splashing through shallow water. The further they went, the more the air trembled with the vibration of engines. Then, somewhere ahead, came the echo of voices. They froze. Alex killed the light. From the shadows ahead, beams of flashlights swept across the tunnel walls. Men in dark raincoats moved in formation, weapons slung across their shoulders. Emma whispered, "They're sealing the tunnels already." He took her hand. "We move when they pass." The group's voices faded into static, swallowed by the tunnel's curve. When silence returned, Alex exhaled. "Now, blank, blank, they ran, feet slapping against the wet concrete, hearts racing in time with the low mechanical pulse around them. The path forked twice. Alex guided her by instinct, turning left, then right, each movement certain in ways he couldn't explain. At last they reached a chamber where the ceiling opened into darkness. Massive turbines loomed above them, half submerged in churning water. Across the room stood another hatch marked North Control Access, authorized only. "Through there," he said. "That leads to the repeater shaft." But as he reached for the handle, a gun clicked. "Don't." They turned slowly. One of the men from the patrol stood behind them, flashlight glaring in their faces. His voice was calm, almost kind. "Alex Turner. I thought you'd learned your lesson the first time." The man's badge gleamed, Ridge Corps. P Security, J. Harlan. Emma's pulse spiked. "He'll kill us." Alex raised his hand slowly. "You don't have to do this, Harlan. You have a family." Harlan's jaw clenched. "So did I. Ridge Corps owns their medical debts." The lights flickered. Somewhere in the machinery above, a relay sparked. Emma seized the moment. She kicked at the flashlight, sending it skittering into the water. The shot went wide, deafening. Alex lunged forward, slammed Harlan into the wall. The gun clattered away. They struggled in the dark until a second shot split the air. Silence. When the light came back, flickering from the fallen flashlight, Harlan was on the ground, unmoving. Alex stood over him, chest heaving, blood blooming on his sleeve. Emma rushed to him. "You're hit." "It's nothing." He pressed his hand over the wound, breath ragged. "We can't stop now." Blank, blank, they forced the hatch open and stumbled into the narrow shaft beyond. The climb was brutal, metal rungs slick with condensation, every step echoing through the hollow space. Emma climbed first, the flash drive clutched in her teeth. Below her, Alex gritted through pain and blood. When they finally reached the top, they emerged into a chamber lined with control panels and blinking servers. The repeater tower rose through a skylight in the ceiling, lights flickering in rhythm like a heartbeat. Emma turned to him. "You can still back out. Give me the drive, I'll finish it." He shook his head. "If anyone uploads it, it has to be me. It's my story." He limped to the terminal, plugged in the drive, and began typing. Lines of code streamed across the screen. A loading bar appeared. Transmission 34%, 58%, 73%. Then the monitor flashed red. Connection jammed. Alex slammed the keyboard. They found the signal. Blank, underscore, blank, below, through the floor grates, the sound of rushing water grew louder. Emma looked down. The tunnels were beginning to flood. She grabbed his shoulder. Then we boost it manually. You said this system has analog backup, right? He nodded weakly. The antenna relay. On the roof. They scrambled for the ladder leading up the tower. Wind howled through the open shaft, rain whipping in sideways sheets. The storm had returned, as if the sky itself wanted to drown the truth. Halfway up, Alex slipped. Emma caught his hand, knuckles white. Don't you dare let go. He looked up at her, rain streaking his face. You shouldn't have to die for this. Then stop making me watch you almost do. She hauled him up, one rung at a time, until they reached the platform. The repeater's antenna crackled with energy, lightning dancing dangerously close. Alex jammed a connector into the terminal and twisted a lever. Sparks erupted. The transmission light turned. Ed green. Below them, explosions echoed through the dam, sections collapsing into the river. Signals live. Emma shouted over the wind. It's sending. Alex smiled through blood and rain. Then we did it. The repeater's green light burned through the storm like a heartbeat refusing to die. Below, the dam trembled, each explosion a thunderclap from the earth itself. Water roared through cracked concrete, the river reclaiming what was stolen from it. Alex leaned against the railing, rain and blood running together on his face. It's done, he whispered. They can't bury it now. Emma's gaze darted to the horizon. Through the storm, she could already see the faint glow of city lights flickering as the network trembled to life. Ridgecorp's secrets, every photograph, every test result, every name, were flooding into the world. For a heartbeat, the wind went still. The city far below shimmered with new fire. Somewhere, alarms were ringing, reporters were waking, and the world was learning the truth. Then the dam groaned. A fracture split the platform beneath them. The tower lurched. Emma screamed, grabbing the railing. Alex stumbled forward, caught her before she fell. The repeater shuddered again. Bolts tore free with a metallic shriek. Go, she cried. We have to jump. There's no time. Lightning ripped across the sky, striking the tower. The blast threw them apart. Emma slammed against the metal grate, air leaving her lungs in a single gasp. When she looked up, Alex was still at the terminal, fingers clutching the final lever, forcing the upload through the interference. Alex, she screamed. Leave it. He turned toward her, and for one moment, just one, his face was calm, peaceful. If I don't finish this, everything dies with us. He pulled the lever. The tower blazed with light. The repeater sent its last surge skyward. Then the world collapsed. Blank, underscore, blank. When Emma opened her eyes, everything was water and white noise. The sky was a smear of gray above her. The dam was gone. Nothing left but broken concrete and the raging river. She coughed, dragging herself onto a shattered plank. Her hands bled from the climb. Around her, pieces of the repeater tower bobbed like ghosts. Alex, she called, voice raw. Alex. Only the rain answered. She screamed his name again, until her throat broke. The river swallowed her words. Then, a sound. Faint. A cough. She turned. A few meters downstream, a hand reached above the surface, weak and trembling. Emma dove without thinking. The cold struck like knives, but she reached him, pulled him to the shallows, pressed his chest until he gasped. His eyes fluttered open. You stayed. I told you I don't leave people behind. He laughed weakly, the sound more air than joy. Did it work? She looked toward the distant city. On the horizon, the sky shimmered faintly with the pulse of servers and signals spreading like wildfire. Yeah, she whispered. It worked. He smiled once, eyes closing as the rain softened. Then it was worth it. Blank, underscore, blank. Hours later, rescue sirens echoed in the valley. News drones hovered over the shattered dam, their lights blinking red. The world was already changing, Ridgecorp's empire unraveling one broadcast at a time. Emma sat beside Alex on the riverbank, his head resting in her lap. Dawn crept over the mountains, pale and clean. "You're going to be all right," she said, though her hands shook as she said it. Alex opened his eyes. "I didn't think I'd ever get a second chance." "You earned it." He smiled faintly. "And you?" She looked at the rising sun. "Maybe I did too. Blank, underscore, blank." The river kept flowing, steady and endless, washing away what had been built on lies. Above it, the wind carried a whisper that only she could hear. Whispers become warnings. Warnings become truth. Emma stood, helping Alex to his feet. Together they followed the river toward the light, two silhouettes against the new day. And somewhere in the distance, the first headline appeared: Ridge Corp scandal exposed by anonymous source. She smiled. "Anonymous, huh?" Alex grinned. "Best way to survive." They laughed, and for the first time since the night he crashed into her world, the sound wasn't broken, it was free. The world changed quietly, not with explosions or breaking glass, but with headlines, whispers, and the kind of silence that follows truth when it finally surfaces. For days after the dam collapse, Ridge City existed in a strange half-dream. Screens blazed with news of the Turner leak, a phrase that spread faster than the floodwater had. Politicians spoke of justice, journalists fought over interviews, and the company that had once seemed untouchable fell apart under the weight of its own lies. But Emma and Alex weren't there to watch it happen. They were far away, tucked inside the green cradle of Willow Creek, the same small town where their story had begun. Blank, underscore, blank, the doctor said Alex should have died twice, once on the highway weeks ago, and once beneath the dam. But somehow, his pulse kept returning, stubborn as his eyes whenever he looked at her. He lay on the porch of the old farmhouse now, wrapped in blankets, sunlight spilling across the boards. His left arm was bandaged. His right hand still bore the faint tremor of electricity from the repeater surge. Emma sat beside him with 2 mugs of tea, steam curling like smoke between them. "They're calling you a hero," she said, watching the hills beyond the fence. He smiled. Kaylee, heroes don't nearly drown twice in 1 week. Then maybe they should." A long pause. The wind carried the scent of pine and rain-washed earth. "You know," Alex said softly, "the last thing I remember before the crash was your road. That curve by the orchard. Then light. Then nothing." Emma looked at him. "You scared half the town to death." "Did I?" "Yeah. Even the mayor came down to see who survived. Guess she didn't expect to find a walking secret." He chuckled, then winced from the pain. She touched his arm gently. Blank, underscore, blank, for the next few days, the farmhouse became their world. Emma cooked simple meals, checked on him every hour, and kept the radio off most of the time. Whenever she turned it on, it was the same voice reading the same breaking story: Alex Turner, whistleblower, survivor, the man who took down Ridge Corp. But fame didn't sit right with him. He avoided mirrors, avoided the news. The truth, after all, had always been his weapon, not his wish. At night, when the wind moved through the trees, they'd sit by the fire. Sometimes she read aloud from old books left by her father, sometimes they just listened to the rain. It was a fragile kind of peace, one that felt borrowed from the world they'd fought against. Blank, underscore, blank, one evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned to gold, Alex finally said what had been pressing between them for days. "I keep thinking about the first time you saw me," he began. Emma raised an eyebrow. "Half dead in a ditch?" Not exactly a fairy tale introduction. "Still," he said, smiling, "you stopped. You didn't even know me, and you stopped." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You were bleeding. I couldn't just drive past. Plenty of people would've." Their eyes met and held for a heartbeat longer than comfort allowed. Then she looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe I needed to stop. Maybe I was the one trying to be found." Blank, underscore, blank, the following morning, a letter arrived, hand-delivered by the postmaster himself. The envelope bore the emblem of the Global Tribune. Inside was a single page. "To Mr. Alex Turner and Ms. Emma Hayes, the world owes you more than words can offer. But if you ever decide to tell your story, truthfully and in full, we'd like to help you do it. Respectfully, Mara Kane." Emma read the name twice, stunned. "She made it out?" Alex exhaled slowly. "Looks like it." For a moment, neither spoke. The sun broke through the clouds, scattering light across the porch. Alex folded the letter carefully. "She always said truth needs witnesses. And now?" He looked at her, a slow smile forming. Now it has two. Blank, underscore, blank, Willow Creek had always been T. He kind of town that forgot quickly. Storms came and went, gossip bloomed and faded, and even the most shocking stories eventually softened into memory. But this time, something lingered. Every time Emma went into town, for groceries, for gas, for silence, the same eyes followed her. People whispered kindly, but curiosity clung to every glance. That's the girl who saved him. That's the man from the news. At first, Emma pretended not to hear. She smiled politely, paid for what she needed, and left before the questions started. But Willow Creek was too small for secrets. By the end of the week, even the cafe had a new item chalked on its board: the hero's latte. Blank, underscore, blank, Alex didn't mind the attention, but he didn't seek it either. Every morning he helped Emma fix the fence, learning the rhythm of a quieter life. The first few days, his movements were stiff, shoulder bound tight, ribs sore, but he never complained. Sometimes she'd catch him staring at the fields, lost in thought. "You miss the city?" she asked once. He shook his head. "No, I miss not running from it." That night, he stayed outside long after sunset. The stars were sharp and close, the kind that only existed far from skyscrapers. He thought about his past, the endless corridors of Ridgecorp, the lies in boardrooms, the faces of people who'd chosen silence because it was safer. And then he thought of Emma, of how her kindness had been the one thing no corporate power could replicate. He looked toward the farmhouse window, where her shadow moved against the curtain, and he whispered to himself, maybe this is what truth was meant to look like. Blank, underscore, blank, days turned into weeks. Winter began its slow crawl down the hills. The mornings were colder, the nights longer, and the farm seemed to breathe with them. Emma found herself laughing again, sometimes at nothing, sometimes at Alex's clumsy attempts to fix the old tractor. He'd never done farm work before. Every time something broke, he'd mutter, "In the city, we called someone for this." Well, she'd tease, "Here, you are that someone." Their laughter carried through the valley, light and unguarded. And with every passing day, the distance between them seemed to shrink, not by force, but by quiet inevitability. Blank, underscore, blank, but peace has a strange habit. It makes people forget how fragile it really is. One evening, Emma came home from town holding a small brown envelope. No sender. Just her name, printed neatly on the front. "Someone left this at the store," she said, handing it to Alex. He frowned. The paper was heavy, expensive. Inside was a single photograph, grainy, taken from a distance. It showed Alex and Emma on the porch 2 days ago. He was laughing. She was leaning close. On the back of the photo were 6 words, written in bold ink: "You can't hide truth forever." Emma's face went pale. "Alex, what does this mean?" He turned the photo over again, jaw tightening. "It means someone's still watching." The air seemed to shift, colder somehow. The house creaked with the sound of old wood settling, but even that felt like a warning. Blank, underscore, blank, that night neither of them slept much. Emma stayed by the window, eyes on the dark road leading into town. Alex sat by the fire, the photo clenched in his hand. Finally, he spoke. "There were people, inside Ridgecorp, who wanted me gone before the truth came out. If any of them survived the fallout, you think they'd come here?" He hesitated. "I think they already have." Blank, underscore, blank, the next morning, he called Mara Kane. Her voice came through the line, steady but strained. "Alex, I've been trying to reach you. Someone broke into my office last night. They took all the backup files, the ones that weren't supposed to exist. Are you safe? For now. But whoever's behind this, they're not finished." He looked out the window at Emma, who was tending to the chickens, unaware of the storm brewing again. His voice dropped. "I'm not losing her to this, Mara. Not again. You might not have a choice," she said quietly. "If they know where you are." He hung up before she could finish. Blank, underscore, blank, that evening, when Emma came inside, she found Alex packing a small bag. "What are you doing? Leaving?" "No." Her voice cracked. "You're not doing this again." "Emma." "No, Alex. You think running will fix this? It never did before. You can't save me by disappearing." He looked at her, really looked. The anger in her eyes wasn't fear. It was heartbreak wearing armor. I'm trying to protect you, he said. Then stay, she whispered. Because every time you run, that's when I lose you. The silence after that was heavier than any storm. Blank, underscore, blank, he stayed. But the world outside their door had already shifted. Someone had found them, and the truth that had once freed him was now the very thing that could destroy them both. The next morning dawned too still. The usual hum of insects was gone. Even the crows on the power line were silent. A pale fog rolled down from the ridge, wrapping the farmhouse in quiet white. Emma stood at the kitchen window, mug in hand, feeling that hush crawl under her skin. Alex hadn't slept. He'd spent the night checking locks, walking the fence line with a flashlight that kept flickering in and out. When she joined him on the porch, his eyes were rimmed red. Fog like this doesn't sit right, he murmured. It's just weather, Alex. Maybe. He didn't sound convinced. Blank, underscore, blank, by noon, the fog had thinned enough for the road to appear, just a strip of damp gravel glistening in the sun. That's when they heard it, an engine, steady and low, heading their way. Emma tensed. Expecting anyone? He shook his head. A black sedan pulled up by the mailbox. The driver stepped out, tall, lean, in a gray coat that looked far too polished for Willow Creek. He carried no badge, no greeting, just a neutral expression that felt practiced. Mr. Turner, the man said. We need a word. Alex stiffened. And you are? Let's keep names out of this. He offered a faint smile. We both know why I'm here. Emma stepped closer, placing herself slightly between them. You've got 5 seconds to make sense. The stranger's eyes flicked to her, then back to Alex. You leaked something that belonged to people who don't forgive easily. You might think the world has moved on, but some things stay buried for a reason. Walk away quietly, and she stays safe. Then he turned, climbed back into the sedan, and drove off, no license plate, no dust trail, nothing. For a long moment, all Emma could do was stare at the empty road. What did he mean, Alex? Walk away from what? He rubbed his face. There were more files. I didn't give them everything. Some of it was too dangerous. Too dangerous for who? For everyone, he said softly. Blank, underscore, blank, that night, Mara Kane arrived. She looked different, tired, older, but her eyes still carried that same sharp light. Emma ran to greet her. You drove all the way here? There wasn't time for anything else, Mara said. Someone's cleaning up the last of Ridge Corp's ghosts. 2 other whistleblowers are missing. We need to talk. Inside, by the fire, Mara spread out papers and a small flash drive. This is what they're after, she said. Financial ledgers, contracts, names of shell companies that still fund projects off record. If they get this back, they'll erase everything we exposed. Alex leaned forward. Then we make it public. Mara shook her head. Too risky. We need a secure drop. Emma listened, feeling that old ache of fear returning, but something in her had changed. She wasn't the same girl who'd found a broken man on the highway. She'd carried him through storms. She wasn't about to step aside now. What if we make them come to us? She said suddenly. Both of them turned to her. She met their gaze, calm but fierce. If they want the truth buried so badly, let's dig it up louder than they can cover it. Mara smiled faintly. You sound like a journalist. I'm just tired of running. Blank, underscore, blank, they spent the night preparing. Alex set up old cameras from the barn, wired them to his laptop. Mara drafted a broadcast statement, short, undeniable, ready to send to every major outlet in the world at one click. Outside, the fog had returned. It pressed against the windows like breath. Emma could feel the weight of it, the sense that the valley itself was holding still, waiting. At 2 a.m., a sound broke the silence, a single car door closing somewhere beyond the fence. Then footsteps. Alex motioned for Emma to stay behind him, but she followed anyway, flashlight in hand. The beam sliced through the fog, catching glimpses of movement, shadows, maybe 2, maybe 3. Alex, she whispered, they're here. Blank, underscore, blank, the first shot shattered the porch light. Glass sprayed across the boards. Emma dropped, heart pounding. Alex grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the cellar door. Mara, get down, he shouted. A voice echoed from the dark. Give us the drive, Turner. Nobody has to get hurt. Mara's eyes met his. They'll never stop. Then we don't either. He shoved the drive into Emma's palm. If anything happens, you run. There's a hidden trail behind the orchard. Go straight until you see the old bridge. She shook her head fiercely. I'm not leaving you again. Emma, please. She looked at him, tears cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. Then don't give me a reason to. Blank, underscore, blank. The next moments blurred into chaos. Boots on gravel, shouts, another flash of light. But before anyone reached the door, the old security system Alex had rigged from scrap parts sparked to life. The floodlights exploded outward, blinding the attackers. Mara hit the broadcast key. The laptop screen filled with progress bars, green light racing across the screen, uploading. Outside, engines roared as the intruders fled. One final echo of tires on wet earth, then silence. They waited, breathless, until the progress bar reached 100%. A soft chime, then Mara whispered, "It's done." Emma leaned against Alex, trembling. He held her close, his voice breaking with exhaustion. "It's over." Mara looked out the window at the fading fog. "No, Alex. It's beginning. Blank, underscore, blank." The dawn after the broadcast felt unreal. For the first time in months, no sirens, no wind roaring through broken glass, just the soft hiss of rain sliding down the farmhouse roof. Inside, the fire still burned low, the laptop screen asleep. Mara dozed in the armchair, coat half slipped from her shoulders. Emma woke first. The scent of damp wood, coffee, and ashes filled the air. She glanced at Alex, still sitting on the floor beside the couch, head leaned back, breathing steady for the first time in days. The storm had taken everything noisy out of them, leaving only quiet. Blank, underscore, blank. By mid-morning, the world had already changed again. Every screen, from old TVs in diners to billboards downtown, carried the same headline: Ridgecorp files released, global impact expands. The drive's contents were everywhere: secret accounts, bribed officials, hidden test results. The world wasn't looking for Alex Turner anymore. It was listening to him. Mara's phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Dozens of outlets, international calls, invitations to speak, protection offers. She looked at Alex, who was quietly buttering toast like nothing had happened. "You do realize," she said, "you just rewrote half the corporate laws of the century?" He smiled faintly. "I just pressed send. Don't romanticize it. That button changed everything." He glanced toward Emma, who was standing by the window watching the light spill over the wet fields. "Everything," he repeated softly, but maybe for once in a good way. Blank, underscore, blank. The town found out quickly. By noon, a convoy of news vans rolled into Willow Creek, cameras, microphones, people in expensive shoes trying not to sink into the mud. But the farmhouse gate stayed closed. A handwritten note hung from it: no interviews, no statements, just peace. And the strangest thing happened. The reporters respected it. Maybe the world, for all its hunger, finally understood that some stories didn't need new angles, they needed time to heal. Blank, underscore, blank. For the next week, life became slow again. Mara left to handle the legal side. She promised to return once the noise settled. Emma and Alex rebuilt what the fight had broken: fence rails, old cupboards, trust in silence. Some afternoons they didn't speak at all, working side by side in the cold sunshine, their rhythm saying more than words ever could. In the evenings, when fog rolled back through the hills, they'd sit by the porch light. Emma would rest her head against his shoulder, and he'd read aloud from the journals he used to keep, not about Ridgecorp or corruption, but about small things. Birds by the river, the smell of rain on copper roofs, the moment he first saw her car stop on that lonely road. Each entry ended the same way: "If I survive this, I want to learn what peace sounds like." Now, he finally knew. Blank, underscore, blank. One night, a letter arrived again, this time with an official seal, but warm words inside. "To Mr. Turner and Ms. Hayes, your courage reminded us that truth and compassion can coexist. The world may move on, but history will not forget the day two souls from a small town lit a match big enough to show us all the way forward." Emma folded it and smiled. "They make it sound like a fairy tale." Alex laughed quietly. "Maybe it finally is one." She looked at him, eyes soft in the firelight. "Then what comes after happily ever after?" He thought for a moment. "Breakfast tomorrow. Maybe pancakes. blank, underscore, blank, outside. The rain began again, gentle this time, a promise rather than a warning. The farmhouse glowed like a lantern in the dark, two silhouettes at the window, and for the first time since that night on the highway, neither of them was running. The road that had brought them pain had finally led them home. Morning returned slowly, as if the valley itself were still afraid to breathe. A thin gold light slid over the hills, touching every blade of frost-tipped grass until it shimmered. Inside the farmhouse, the world was still. No alarms, no rumble of news vans. Only the ticking of the kitchen clock and the soft crackle of a dying fire. Emma woke first. She lay there for a while, listening to Alex's even breathing beside her, counting the quiet seconds between the rhythm of his heart and her own. It was the first time she'd truly slept through the night since the accident months ago. Now, for the first time, peace didn't feel like a visitor. It felt like it had unpacked its bags. She slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and crossed to the window. Fog rested low in the valley, thin and gentle, curling like smoke from the river. The sunrise poured through it, turning the whole world the color of honey. Emma pressed her palm against the cold glass. The glass pressed back, real and solid, and she thought, we made it. Blank, underscore, blank, downstairs, the kettle hissed. She poured 2 mugs, added sugar the way he liked now, too much, after years of bitter coffee, and stepped out onto the porch. The wood was damp under her feet. A small flock of sparrows darted across the yard, landing on the rail where the light hit warmest. A minute later, Alex appeared in the doorway, hair still mussed, bandage on his arm mostly healed. He smiled, that easy half-smile that always looked surprised to exist. "Tea again?" he teased. "It's the only ritual that survived the apocalypse," she said. He laughed softly, joined her on the steps, and for a long while they didn't talk. Blank, underscore, blank, peace, it turned out, wasn't quiet because nothing happened. It was quiet because you stopped fighting it. Alex tilted his head toward the hills. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" "Every day," she said. "But not the way you mean." "How'd I mean?" "You mean what if it happens again? I think what if it doesn't? What if we actually get to live the part no one writes about?" He considered that. The sunlight caught the faint scar near his temple, turning it silver. What would that look like? She smiled. Probably boring. And beautiful. Blank. Blank, underscore 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 later, while he fixed a loose shutter, Emma drove into town. She hadn't been back to the square since the chaos ended. Now, banners stretched across the street. Willow Creek Harvest Festival. Welcome home children ran between stalls of pumpkins and pies. The air smelled of cinnamon and hay. Someone strummed a guitar near the fountain, and laughter drifted through the crisp air. Emma bought apples, waved to the baker, and almost didn't notice the familiar woman sitting on the bench under the elm tree. Mara Kane, wrapped in her city coat, sipping coffee from a paper cup, looking oddly at peace herself. "You look like someone who finally exhaled," Emma said. Mara smiled. "Maybe I did. The hearings are done. They're calling it the Turner Accords. Governments are rewriting policy. It's something." Emma sat beside her. "You sound proud." "I am. But I'm also tired." They both laughed quietly. Then Mara reached into her bag and handed Emma a small envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Alex standing in the field behind the farmhouse, head tilted toward the horizon, sun breaking behind him. Mara said, "The photographer called it the last light. I thought you should have the original." Emma traced the edges with her thumb. "He hates cameras. That's why it works," Mara said. "Because he didn't know he was being seen." Blank, underscore, blank, when Emma returned home, she found Alex on the porch painting. Nothing fancy, just the side wall where the wood had faded. He'd opened a can of soft white, the color of clouds. She watched for a while before speaking. "You planning to start a new career?" He grinned. "Maybe. Professional wall brightener." She handed him the photograph. He looked at it, silent. After a long moment, he whispered, "You kept the light alive." "No," she said. "You did. I just followed it." He reached for her hand, and they stood together in that unfinished sunlight, the wind moving gently through the orchard behind them. By late afternoon, Willow Creek was alive in a way Emma had never seen. Lanterns strung across Main Street swayed gently in the wind, the smell of roasted corn and caramel drifting through the air. Music from a local band echoed from the old gazebo, the kind of soft, unhurried rhythm that belonged to the town itself. Alex wasn't supposed to attend the festival. At least, that's what he told her that morning. He'd wanted to stay home, away from the crowd, away from the curious eyes that still followed him from news stories. But when dusk came and Emma turned toward the square, he was already there, standing near the fountain, wearing that same gray jacket from the first day she found him, hands tucked in his pockets. For a moment, she just watched him. The lights reflected. In the water, gold and red, dancing against his reflection. He looked almost unreal, like someone between the man he'd been and the one he was learning to become. When he saw her, he smiled. "You didn't think I'd let you eat all the caramel apples alone, did you? I thought you didn't do crowds." "I don't," he said. "But I do you?" She laughed despite herself, the sound warm and unguarded. Blank, blank, the mayor spotted them a few minutes later and insisted Alex speak. He tried to refuse, but the crowd had already begun to gather, clapping, calling his name. Mara appeared from somewhere near the back, giving him a nod that meant you owe them this much. He stepped up onto the gazebo platform, clearing his throat. The music faded. Hundreds of faces turned toward him, farmers, shopkeepers, children perched on their parents' shoulders, people who'd once known only rumors and headlines. Alex's voice, when it came, was steady but quiet. "I'm not here to talk about corporations or conspiracies," he began. "You've heard enough of that. I just want to say something simple, thank you." A hush spread through the crowd. "When I first came to this town," he continued, "I didn't even know my own name would mean anything to anyone. I was running, from people, from choices, from truth. And then someone stopped. She didn't ask who I was, or what I'd done. She just helped." He looked at Emma then, and the crowd followed his gaze. "She reminded me that the world isn't saved by grand gestures, it's saved by small kindnesses that don't ask for reward." By the time I remembered how to be human again, it was because someone in this town showed me what that looked like. The silence was full, heavy, sacred. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, then swelling until it filled the square. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. Not from pity, but from pride. Blank, blank, later, the music returned, faster now, joyful. Children danced with ribbons, old men clapped along, the smell of cider spilled into the cool night. Mara joined them for a while, laughing, then slipped away with a knowing glance. As the crowd thinned, Alex and Emma wandered toward the bridge at the edge of town. The lanterns reflected in the river like 1,000 fireflies. "This place," he said quietly. "It doesn't judge me anymore." "It never did," she replied. "You just had to see it." They walked in silence for a while, until they reached the middle of the bridge. The water moved slowly beneath them, carrying the last light of the festival down toward the valley. Blank, Emma leaned on the railing. "Remember when you told me truth was dangerous?" He nodded. "Maybe," she said softly, "but so is love. And we still choose it." He turned to face her, the river's glow painting his features in gold. "I used to think love was something people like me didn't get. But then you stopped your car that night, and everything changed. You saved me before I even knew I was worth saving." Emma felt her throat tighten. "I didn't save you, Alex. I just found you. The saving, you did that yourself." For a moment, neither spoke. Then he reached for her hand, his thumb brushing against the scar on her palm from the crash night. "Still," he whispered, "you were the reason I wanted to survive." She smiled through tears. "And you were the reason I stopped being afraid." Blank, the first fireworks burst above them, bright, slow blooms of red and gold spilling across the sky. Children cheered from the distance, the echo mixing with the soft rush of water beneath the bridge. Alex leaned closer, his voice barely audible above the sound. "I love you, Emma Hayes." She closed her eyes, the light reflecting off her lashes. "I know," she said. "And I love you, too." The next firework painted them both in white light, and for that heartbeat of brilliance, they looked like two halves of one story finally ending the way it was meant to. The next morning, Willow Creek woke to the soft hum of rain against rooftops. It wasn't the harsh, storm-born rain of the night Alex arrived months ago. It was the kind that came gently, washing the dust off everything it touched. Emma stood by the window of her cabin, watching droplets slide down the glass, silver and slow. Her reflection was calm now, her eyes no longer searching for what might come next. Alex was still asleep on the couch. He'd stayed there after the festival, not because he was too tired to drive, but because it had begun to feel like home. She moved quietly through the room, making coffee, listening to the rain tap against the porch. For the first time in years, the silence felt kind. Blank. By mid-morning, Alex stirred. Morning, he murmured, sitting up, hair still messy, eyes soft with sleep. Morning, she replied, handing him a mug. You stayed. I wasn't going anywhere. He took a sip, grimaced. Still can't make coffee, he teased. Still can't fix my fence, she shot back. They both laughed, the kind of laughter that comes easily when pain has finally loosened its grip. A knock sounded on the door. It was Mara, drenched from the rain, holding 2 folded envelopes. Looks like the mail finally came through after the storm, she said, shaking off water. One was addressed to Emma Hayes. The other, Alexander Reed. They exchanged puzzled glances. Mara smiled faintly. From the city. I think this might be the last chapter you two were waiting for. Alex opened his envelope first. Inside was a formal letter, his name cleared, the investigation closed. The company that had betrayed him was now facing trial without him. His statement was enough. He was, at last, free. For a long moment, he just stared at the paper. Then, slowly, he set it down, exhaling a breath he'd been holding for months. Emma's letter was shorter. It was from a local art foundation, the one she'd applied to secretly, months ago. Her submission, a painting titled, The Night I Found You, had been accepted for exhibit. They said they want to feature it in the city gallery, she whispered. Emma, that's incredible. She smiled shyly. I almost didn't send it. It felt too personal. It is, he said. That's why it's perfect. Mara watched them quietly. I'll be heading out soon, she said. You're leaving? Emma asked. I've got a sister up north who runs a farm. She could use a hand. And I think, she glanced between them, you two don't need me hovering anymore. Emma hugged her tightly. You were never hovering. You were protecting. Mara chuckled. Old habits die hard. Then she turned to Alex, her expression softening. You proved me wrong, you know. I thought you were trouble. Turns out, you were the miracle this town didn't know it needed. He smiled faintly. Thank you, for not giving up on me. Don't thank me, Mara said. Thank her. She's the one who did the saving. And with that, she stepped into the rain, her figure fading down the dirt road, umbrella swaying like a farewell flag. Hours later, the sky began to clear. The storm broke open into a pale gold light that stretched over the valley, catching on the wet leaves and turning them to glass. Emma stood outside, the last raindrops clinging to her hair. Alex came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. What are you thinking? He asked. That maybe happy endings aren't endings at all, she said softly. Maybe they're just beginnings that stop hurting. He kissed the side of her head. Then I'll take that beginning. And I'll take the next one, she whispered. The sun dipped low, painting the fields in copper. The river shimmered like liquid gold. In the distance, children's laughter echoed from the festival tents still being taken down. Alex turned to her. I want to stay, he said simply. No more running, no more hiding. I want to build something here, with you. Emma met his gaze. Then stay, she said. This town's big enough for second chances. He smiled, the kind of smile that felt like sunrise after a long night. That evening, as twilight settled, Emma finished her painting. She stood back, looking at it, the bridge, the lanterns, the 2 silhouettes standing beneath the fireworks. She added one final brushstroke of light across the river's surface, the last light. Outside, Alex was fixing the porch railing again, humming to himself. When he looked up, the first stars had already begun to appear, faint and quiet, but endless. And somewhere in the valley below, Willow Creek slept in peace. Epilogue. 1 year later, Willow Creek never changed much, and that was exactly why people loved it. The hills still rolled like soft green waves, the river still whispered through the valley, and every morning the same bell rang from the church tower, slow and comforting. But inside that stillness, some things had changed. The little cabin on the ridge now had a second porch and a white fence that actually stood straight. There was a small garden where wildflowers grew in reckless color. And hanging from the front door was a hand-painted sign that read, Hayes and Reed, Restoration Studio. Blank, underscore, blank, inside, sunlight spilled across an easel. Emma stood there, brush in hand, her hair tied loosely, streaked with a line of blue paint. On the canvas before her, she painted the same river that once divided her life into before and after. She was no longer the girl who lived quietly on the edge of town. Her art was now known beyond Willow Creek. Her first exhibit in the city had opened 3 months ago, and the painting The Night I Found You had been sold, the proceeds used to fund art classes for children in the valley. Alex had built the studio for her himself. Every plank, every nail, every window frame carried his patience and care. Blank, underscore, blank, he entered now, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Still terrible at making it, still pretending otherwise. "You've been up since dawn," he said. "I couldn't sleep. The light was perfect." He glanced at her painting and smiled. "You always chase the light. And you always find the broken things," she said softly. "We're a good pair." He handed her the mug. "Speaking of broken things, guess who fixed the church bell's clock gear today?" "No," she laughed. "You did not. That thing's been stuck since before I was born. I might have had help from a very patient old man named Samuel," he said with a grin. Emma reached for his hand. "You really are staying, aren't you? I told you I would. This town, this life, it's the first thing that's ever felt right." Blank, underscore, blank, outside, kids ran past, laughing as they carried kites down toward the meadow. The wind picked up, scattering petals from the wildflowers. Emma leaned against the doorway, watching them. "You ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't stopped that night?" Alex came to stand beside her. "I think," he said slowly, "that sometimes life gives us one chance to make a different choice. And you took it. You chose to stop. That one moment changed everything." She looked up at him, eyes glimmering. "Maybe it wasn't me who saved you. Maybe it was both of us, saving each other." He smiled. "Yeah, maybe it was." Blank, underscore, blank, that evening, the town gathered again in the square, the same spot where Alex had once spoken under the festival lights. Only now, there was no crowd, no applause, just a handful of close friends celebrating Emma's birthday. Mara had returned, of course, still tough, still teasing. She hugged them both so tightly Emma thought she'd never breathe again. "Looks like I was right," Mara said, eyes twinkling. "The storm was the best thing that ever hit this town." When the candles were blown out and the laughter faded, Emma and Alex slipped away to the old bridge, their bridge. The lanterns were lit again that night, floating on the water like tiny suns. Emma placed one gently on the surface, whispering a wish before letting it drift away. Alex watched her in the golden glow. "What did you wish for?" She smiled. "Nothing. I already have it." He reached for her, pulling her close, their reflections shimmering together on the water below. Blank, underscore, blank, the last light of day faded behind the mountains, turning the sky violet and silver. They stood there in silence, the kind of silence that said everything words couldn't. And somewhere between that final sunset and the first star, the story of Emma Hayes and Alex Reed quietly settled into legend, not the kind told in books or cities, but the kind whispered in small towns, where love is remembered not for how it begins, but for how it stays. Blank, underscore, blank, as the lanterns drifted down the quiet river and the stars began to rise, Emma and Alex stood hand in hand. A reminder that love, no matter how broken, can always find its way home. Headphone. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to support the channel. Right finger subscribe now for more cinematic love stories, full of emotion, hope, and endings that stay with you long after the last word fades. Your one click helps us keep bringing stories like Emma and Alex to life. Sparkling Heart.